Solthera is a supervoid, a black hole with a photon collar that still emits light and heat. Our destination is Infinite Guideline, a pinnacle-constructed Eternity column that serves as the main transit hub for the system. The mission is to explore the far edges of the Solthera system for any scientific anomalies. This is where the IPVN singularity will be tested to its limits, and where we will face the unknown.
Our commander is the Infinite Guideline Station, a 5-color artifact vessel. Upon entering the battlefield, it creates a number of service units, 2 robots, one for each multicolor permanent under your control. Once you've assigned 12 power to crew the station, it awakens. The Infinite Guideline Station becomes a 715 flying construct, a domineering monolith that draws a card for each multicolor permanent you command. This isn't a commander that dominates the game on its own, but it does give direction to gather more multicolor permanents to synergize with the ETB to make robots. It also acts as a secondary way to draw cards once it's alive. The station is a perfectly fine container for what will be a much more curious deck.
Pilot's log, stardate 37562. Still don't know what glorified science canoe needed to hire me, a military pilot with a mild authority problem and a spinal column made of glass. But hey, I'm not complaining. We're beginning our approach on the hub, and I could murder a drink right now. Preferably something with enough alcohol to make me forget the Solthera system exists. You can have all the plans in the world, sure. Map your routes, prep your contingencies, run your simulations. But out here, the universe doesn't read your briefings. It rolls dice. Big, ugly, unfair dice that is dying to land you on a void collapse. Every jump is a cascade, which is a fancy way of saying total crap shot. Could be a clean run to our next gig. Could be we clip a gravity seam and get flung into the existential garbage disposal. We're a blip out here, a speck on the lens of the cosmos out at the edge of eternities. And I swear, sometimes it feels like the whole void is just sitting there, waiting, watching, just daring us to make one wrong move.
The universe is a chaotic realm, where rules of nature and time are bent to wills out of your control. To capture this chaos for yourself and for the table, this deck plays a variety of cascade spells, such as Chimil the Inner Sun, which discovers 5 on each of your end steps. Dark Apostle adds on Cascade to a non-creature spell we cast for 3. Deny Reality is temporary removal that usually comes with something else. Into the Time Vortex, which cascades twice, spread across 2 turns. Maelstrom Nexus, which gives each of our first spells Cascade. Let the Galaxy Burn is an expensive potential board wipe that is on theme and helps clean up smaller creatures as you cascade into a bigger one. And lastly, Yidris, a co-pilot that helps us navigate this chaos. Outside of Cascade, this deck also features elements of space and time, with cards like Decaying Time Loop that gives you a way to refresh your hand, or discard a card to do it again. Planetary Annihilation is a terrifying end to dealing with creatures and reducing some lands. Quantum Misalignment creates variance across time for a creature we control. And also, the deck features Space Balerin, a wandering planeswalker who divides the battlefield into multiple sectors and helps you control the threats in space. The deck also introduces Whispers of the Warp from the Dark Millennium, with Chaos Mutation as a way to randomly remove creatures and warp them in with something else. Keeper of Secrets to deal damage with your Cascade spells. Mutalith Vortex Beast that can draw you cards or bolt each opponent. And the Ruinous Powers, which lets you play cards you exile off the top of your opponent's library.
My name is Caitlin, Research Division, Pinnacle Strategic Corps, one of the old guard, if that still means anything. I've been stationed on this ship alongside Dr. Vex, cataloging ruins, anomalies, echoes. But this assignment this one sits wrong with me. The brief was vague. Investigate something referred to in the archives as a wound in the weft. Old term. I thought it was a metaphor. Until now. My comms feed just lit up. The drone sent back an image. A structure, if you can call it that. It isn't built, it's formed. Impossible angles that defy scale. Geometry that seems to rearrange itself the longer I stare. I can't look away. We didn't just find any ruin. We found a temple. Field team is preparing for descent. I'll be the first in. I want to see what kind of god built a place like this.
In the edge of eternities, a remnant of the Eldrazi is found in anti-causal vestige. An Eldrazi with warp that cheats in a permanent from your hand with mana value less than or equal to number of lands you control. To fill out this host of threats with Devoid, we have Azlask, the Swelling Surge, which will give our Chittering host Annihilator as they flood the battlefield. Chittering Dispatcher is a 2/3 of Myriad that helps spawn these tokens as the Myriad tokens leave the battlefield at the end of combat. Kozilek's Unsealing also brings 2 spawn tokens every time we cast a creature with mana value 4, 5, or 6. Titan's Vanguard also grows our Grey host when it enters and when it attacks, by giving each colorless creature we control a +1/+1 counter. We also see From Beyond, an enchantment that creates Eldrazi Scions on your upkeep, which can also be sacrificed later to tutor for a threat, like Sire of Stagnation, a 6-mana Eldrazi that exiles the top 2 cards of an opponent's library, while you draw 2 every time a land enters the battlefield under your control. Void Attendant can move these cards in exile into the graveyard, return what's lost in the void into a Scion for you. Sowing Mycospawn helps us find planets, and can exile a land when kicked. Thief of Existence exiles non-creature, non-land permanents with mana value 4 or less instead. Worldbreaker is here to exile artifacts, enchantments, and lands, and act as a threat that can be recurred by sacrificing a land. Mind Melter takes our unused mana to exile a card from an opponent. Hideous Taskmaster can help enslave our opponent's creatures by taking 1 creature from each opponent and grant them temporary trample, haste, and Annihilator 1. We're also playing a Monument to the Eldrazi to give our board +1/+1 and indestructible at the cost of a creature on each upkeep.
Dr. Kalen stumbled onto something at the temple today. Some kind of relic, still active, humming long and sharp enough to rattle your teeth if you stand too close. They're probably ecstatic, practically glowing at the idea of being the next darling of the scientific circuit. But I've already won, because I found something even better. I followed a fault line that really shouldn't exist, but I found it, and it brought me to this basin that I'm calling the Silver Pool. And it's thrumming. The resonance is low, it's constant, like it's breathing through the stone. The pool itself is like a viscous kind of thing, and it's humming back when I speak. I'm uploading the audio now. It's not playback, it's reactive. I dropped a sensor node into the pool and got 10 seconds of signal before the feedback fried like half my array. But in those 10 seconds I saw structures, hive logic, neural lattice work. It's not just alive, it's aware, and it's listening. If I can understand the frequency, this could be a breakthrough.
The thrumming hive pool leaks into the deck, bringing another swarm to the board. Notably with the first sliver, which also has Cascade matching the chaos of our universe. The Sliver Queen, Root Sliver, and Sliversmith all help create sliver tokens to evolve into the many augmentations that are available to them, such as Taunting Sliver, which gives your slivers the ability to control the battlefield through goading opponents' creatures after they enter. Regal Sliver makes you the Monarch and retains the Monarch token. Necrotic and Harmonic Sliver turn these sliver tokens into board control, while Mana Weft and Gemhide Sliver help color fix and turn your slivers into more mana sources. And the Hive lore protects our slivers from the destructive universe so that our grand host can spread their tendrils across every corner of the system.
Today I stepped into the impossible. I introduced a sample of the silver pool and also a fragment from the relic that Kaylin recovered inside their sexual temple and placed them into a containment field. Observe how the silver pool sample responded to the relic's energy signature. The silver pool sample didn't weaken at all to the resonance of the relic. It thrived. The relic's colorless radiation, hypothesized to be fatal to such reactions, was instead absorbed eagerly, hungrily. The strain shifted. It's like witnessing collective will. And now, even outside the containment field, I feel it. It's like a whisper of purpose. Purpose that all great minds are born with. It sings. This isn't evolution, it's correction. This whole mission was a lie, or worse, it's like a half-truth. And the captain couldn't see it. The pilot refused to listen. And this voice offers them true freedom. I understand now. The song must grow. It needs more power, more minds, more structure as part of the network. This is no longer just research, it's revelation. The final truth, clear and undeniable. There's no escape. There's no resistance. There's only unity.
To bring unity between two voices, Ghost Flame Sliver devoids our slivers of their color, granting them the boons of Ozlosk and the Titan's vanguard. The biologist Ruka Morel Vex also links the greater species together by allowing us to choose Eldrazi, and turn slivers into Eldrazi's as well. Meanwhile, the Hive Stone merges the Hive's evolution with the Eldrazi, giving them powers beyond annihilation. A forbidden card to truly bring them together would be to play the Slivdrazi monstrosity, but that is up to your podmates to decide.
This is Captain Wes, Override Alpha 2-1. Dr. Vess has gone rogue. She broke quarantine. She's broadcasting a signal through the comms array. I voted a full systems purge, but it's in the ship. Burn the guideline. Shut the gates. If you hear the song, don't listen.
The deck is quite simple, since most of the threats sit within the 3 to 5 mana range and higher. Most of the hands we're looking for wants to have a few sources of mana, and preferably a variety of colors. There's at least 14 sources of ramp in the deck, including Conduit of Worlds and Crucible of Worlds, as a way to recur fetch lands to guarantee your land drops. It also plays Zazarel, to let you replay lands and pump your other creatures to be threats. The rest of the strategy is very straightforward. Play your threats out as they come and play the Guideline Station to power up into a creature and draw more cards. There's an emphasis on multicolored permanents in this deck to make sure the Guideline Station can refill your hand turn after turn. But you won't need that much once you start setting up cascade cards like Chimil, Yidris, and the Maelstrom Nexus. How you win is just building a strong board with the perfect harmony of Eldrazi spawns and monsters, and the evolving horde of slivers. There's limited interaction or removal. The deck plays to be the threat, and re-threaten again and again as the table deals with your board state. There's no escape from the chaos of this space, and hearing the greater voice.